With me today is Paul Roberts. Paul Roberts,
How's it?
yeah. Paul Roberts is retired Air Force. I'll let him tell you a little bit about his Air Force career and then some.
All right. So I joined the Air Force in September of 1983. Came in open general. So if you're a prior Air Force, you know it means they can pretty much stick you at any job they want. I did score high enough, like on my ASVAB, for pretty much any job. So I went up for air traffic controller, and then considering the time frame I grew up, late 70s, early 80s, I tried a little bit of Mother Nature and on my enlistment papers, so that disqualified me for being air traffic controller. Now, in my basic training flight, there was 4 of us that all went the same day for air traffic controller. One guy got selected, the other 3 of us didn't, and we wound up as all in law enforcement academy together after that. I think we even wound up as roommates. I can't remember, that's a few decades ago. And then when I was there, and the way they did K-9 back then, so I'm retired as a dog handler.
All that training, that's at Lackland Air Force
Yes.
Base, San Antonio, Texas?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, basic training. So they tell you when you join the Air Force, one of the best signs you'll ever see is "Welcome to Lackland" in the rearview mirror. Yeah, I saw that sign 4 times, I think, between going to all the dog schools. But yeah, they came around. They were looking for volunteers for K-9 back then. You did that as an airman while you were in law enforcement academy. I think there was 7 of us that tried out for it, and all 7 of us got selected. You know, they had a couple simple tests. You know, want to see how your voice is, because voice is real important when you're working a dog. They give you a test. You have the 65-pound bucket of concrete with a pole in it, see if you can keep a dog off of you. But the pole's not trying to eat you, so you don't really have that adrenaline rush, so it doesn't work as well.
And that was 83, you said?
83, yeah.
Yeah. Do you happen to remember any of your instructors' names from back then?
I remember one of my patrol dog instructors, because I wound up having him in explosives 4 years later. I actually started dog school in January '84, because after law enforcement, Christmas rolled around. So, yeah, Tech Sergeant Kurosi. Said he was one of my instructors in K-9 school. So I remember we had a Doberman in our class, which was they don't use them anymore. But yeah, I wound up going back for explosives dog handler course 4 years later, and he was one of my instructors.
Cool. What different positions did you hold within that K-9 career?
See, my first duty station, I went to Okinawa, Japan. I was supposed to go. There was 7 Air Force handlers in our class. See, the way the Air Force did things, if you had an assignment as law enforcement first, if you volunteered for K-9, too bad, so sad. You don't have that anymore. I was supposed to go to Germany, volunteer for dog school, and they're like, nope, not going there. They're going to send me to Altus Air Force Base, Oklahoma. And I didn't want anything to do with Oklahoma. I mean, my thought process then in my whole career is if they're going to pay me to travel, I want to travel. I don't want to be in the States. I definitely don't want to be in New York. I mean, that's where I grew up. So they want to pay me to travel, I'm going to go. So the one guy in our class wanted to stay in the States. So we swapped. I took his assignment to Kadena. He took mine to Oklahoma. He made E4 below the zone, went to drug dog school, bomb dog school, and last I saw, he retired as lieutenant colonel. So it worked out.
Oh, so somewhere in there he went to the
OCS or
equivalent to OCS in the Air Force.
I mean, I didn't really. Of course, this is definitely pre-internet days.
Yeah.
So I just happened to remember seeing it somewhere. I was like, I remember. Yeah, actually, we were in basic training together too. So.
I mean, lieutenant colonel is a pretty good rank to retire at. I mean, there's service members that come into their service as a commissioned officer, and they only make it up to lieutenant colonel when they retire. So for someone that comes in prior enlisted for however many years, I mean, and then they still make the rank of lieutenant colonel. That's pretty high speed.
Well, I mean, I went to Okinawa at the time. It was an 18-month tour. For whatever reason, I extended, so I got a patrol dog. The whole time I worked a patrol dog for 18 months.
Yeah.
And back then, they had a lot of, we call them CG, civilian guards. I don't know if Army had similar thing in overseas bases. Local nationals that work
Oh,
with it.
yeah, like they got, it's some sort of agreement they
Yeah, so my dog used to have a Okinawan handler, and it was evident fairly quickly that the only thing he knew about training was that it was a word in English, because she had no clue. But I mean, I learned a lot there. I mean, even as a young airman, I would help with training with like new guys that would arrive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes they don't want to listen. Just it's kind of a funny story. Back then, because everything now is Shepherd's Mals. I know they're starting to look like used labs and stuff. We had a 95-pound Rottweiler named Kogan that you learned fairly quickly that when he was released on a bite, you got out of his way. And you catch him when he comes back because he slows down.
Speaking of bites, I think a lot of people like to hear stories of like actual, they call them street bites.
Yeah.
So do you have any of those stories?
Unfortunately, no. If I had ever gone like to Clark or Howard in the Panama, I would have him like it was cool, but
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes if you're doing your job right in deterring
Yeah.
the crime, then you don't have to actually send.
well, I actually saw that happen. It was in Okinawa. It was a bomb threat at I think it was the NCO club. And I was part of like the perimeter, keep people out, but people weren't wanting to move. And it was just a regular law enforcement guy trying to tell them to move. I walked up with my dog and lo and behold, they all moved. I didn't really have to say anything either. They just like, oh shit, here comes the dog, let's go.
Yeah, that happens. What about did you work a drug dog?
When I got to Hickam,
Yeah.
I got one. Because at the time, like I said, at the time, every school, now everything you go to training as a military handler and they do everything at once. Back then
Right.
it was all separate schools.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You had to go back for.
Yeah, Hawaii, we didn't have any street patrol dogs. All we had was drug dogs and bomb dogs. And it's being Hawaii, yeah, there's a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
Before I actually went to dog school, I already had drug fines. Because you were allowed to, your base could locally, or OJT certify you, you still had to go to school.
Right.
But yeah, I had drug fines. But my instructor, who was a E5 in the Navy, had just graduated from the same course 3 months before she started teaching ours.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a thing.
And it was like-
the Army had that same issue too, not enough continuity in as being a handler, and that's exactly why now they have 31 Kilo, which is the K9 MOS for the Army. So they come in straight off the street,
Yeah.
basic MP school, K9 school, pipeline.
Yeah.
That's what you guys call
Yeah.
it, pipeline. Another thing I picked up on is the Air Force. You guys have so many different places that you can go,
Yeah.
like places that some like Army guys never have heard of before,
Yeah.
and I feel like that they're almost all like a paradise
Well,
compared to.
Well, we hear that a lot. We hear that a lot, and we're like, "Oh, you're a chow." And we're like, "Really? It sucks, man. Oh no." And I remember this other services. So, for any Marines that watch this eventually, don't take offense, please. They didn't. When I was in Okinawa, anyway. So we're going back 35 years. No, wait, more than that. Shit. 37 years when I first got there, they didn't seem to trust Marines with ammunition. They carried a 45, but there's no magazine in it.
Okay.
I'm standing in line at the chow hall. Didn't have a dog yet, and I got relieved to go eat lunch, standing in chow hall, carrying my issued 38 that wouldn't stop a flea probably. And this guy's standing next to me. He's like, you should be in the Marines. We carry a 45, it's a much better weapon, this, that, and the other thing. I was like, mine's loaded. He didn't say another word.
I think I remember one of my first experiences in an Air Force dining facility
Yeah.
as when I was done eating. Obviously, it was a great place to go to eat, but when I was finished eating, I stood up with my tray and started walking around looking for the place to put the tray. And finally, one of the civilian chow hall or dining facility employees said, honey, can I help you? And I'm like, I'm looking to put where I put my tray. She goes, you just leave it on the table, honey. We'll take care of it. And I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, we used to, because we had to, like, a lot of times, sometimes, you know, we'd have to go qualify 'em when I was in Okinawa, like the Marine base, and we'd be sitting at the USO or whatever, waiting to be able to go to range, and all these Marines coming up and asking us about, you know, because they're all like in open bay dorms, and we're like, at the time, 2 to a room with a bathroom assigned to our room, and they're like, oh my God. It's like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
But now it's like now in Guam, when we go to dorms do our job now for the snake inspections, it's like they tell these, yeah, this used to be a 2-person room.
So let's get to that. So you retired from what base in Guam?
Anderson Air Force Base.
Anderson.
Yeah.
And how many years did you do?
Air Force wide or in Guam?
Let's just say Air Force.
20 years, 8 months, 22 days.
That's interesting. I did 20 years, 8 months to the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. But you retired out of Guam,
Mm-hmm.
and you're obviously in Guam now because you told them that. They know that.
Yeah.
And you're messing with snakes there. But let's get to that in a second.
Okay.
Because there's some stuff in between that you got to let these folks know. One of the most important things, I think, with a person's career, whether they retire or whether they just ETS, is the transition. I believe that, and I always emphasize this with soldiers that I had, that part's important. There are certain things on that transition that are mandatory check off sheets. At least in the Army, you got to check this block, you got to go to this class.
Yeah, Air Force, they call it TAP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what people would do is they would have their sheet and they'd go to get the check off things on there. But the thing is, there's more that's available to people when they transition, which I think most people don't take.
Because I can't attest to the Army because I was never in it, but like Air Force, when you decide to retire, I think even if you're getting out, as long as it's not like, no, you're go buy
Yeah.
one of those, they have a thing and they help you do that, like with resume writing and resources that are available. That's part of the Air Force, part of the TAP, transition assistance program, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, that sounds familiar. They may have renamed things in the Air Force, but it's probably the same. Just like in the Army, they called it ACAP, which was an acronym, Army Career and Alumni Program. I actually remembered that. I retired in 2013. But anyway, that program was the same thing.
Yeah.
Check blocks. And they had a class that was specifically about how to do your resume and apply for government jobs on usajobs.gov.
Well, they tell you too, because like for our job, you put Kennel Master down, some guy in General Dynamics, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So it kind of help you on how to properly word that for when you're doing a resume. Because, you know, especially if you're in for, man, I've been retired for 17 years now. Doesn't look it, but the military shit doesn't go away.
I didn't ask you about this in advance, but we'll see how this goes. But I want to try to get a hold of one of your military pictures if you send it to me. That way I can put it up on this podcast for people to see. Like, hey, I think that's pretty important.
I got some from Carswell with my dog. My buddy posted. He wasn't an actual cop. He worked in our personnel section.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, hey, I found these pictures of you and Luck. It's like, oh shit.
So yeah, the transition process, we know that's really important, and I think that really, if you do that properly, it gets you into your next chapter of your life, which for you, after you retired in Guam.
Well, see, but like, you know, before we start, when I made the decision to retire, it was kind of like spur of the moment. I knew, when I retired out of Guam, that was my second time in Guam.
Yeah.
I was there for 5.5 years the first time. And this will all tie together. eventually.
Yeah.
Excuse me if I kind of, I go off on a tangent like Robin Williams, except he's funny. I'm not so much. I left Guam the first time only because Air Force said I had to, because I was there 5.5 years. They said, you need to go. I don't want to. Too bad. Bye. Got sent actually here to Georgia, South Georgia, Valdosta,
Okay.
where I met is Aaron your boss or Trent?
Trent.
Okay. One of his coworkers.
Yeah.
That's where I met him for the first time. Said this will all tie together. Got lucky because I thought I'm stuck here in Georgia. I got 3 years of retirement with my rank on. I'm an E6 at the time. I'm like, I'm stuck here. I'm going to finish my career here. Then all of a sudden, Air Force is like, you know what? We need people to stay in. We're going to change our higher tenure for E6 to 22. That day, put in for an assignment. And if you're in the Air Force and you're a cop, easiest way to get out of any place is volunteer for a remote tour. Because there's 500 cops at Osan, probably another 200 at Kunsan in Korea. Turkey, they're short tours, they always turn over. It's easy to get out. So that's how, both my stateside assignments, that's how I volunteered basically for Korea, worldwide availability, and I went to Korea twice.
Yeah.
Which is a good learning experience too, because still technically a war zone, and you never know if you're going to wake up the next morning and your building's on fire because the North Koreans came.
Yeah. In Korea, did you do any hiking or anything like that in there?
My first time I was there, I was there for 2 years. Me and a friend of mine, we did a bunch of, we'd take bicycles out in the countryside, and
Yeah.
Americans, whoa, 'cause you're away from the base. Of course, I still haven't made it to the DMZ, but I can go now. I'm a civilian. I can just get on a plane. Well, once travel's good again,
Right.
but
Right. Yeah, that is a cool place to go. And
I went to like a cherry blossom festival down in Chinhae area, and
yeah,
been up and around Seoul doing things.
and you service members that are still in, you go to Korea. There's awesome places to visit.
Yeah.
Like he's saying, the festivals, the biking, the hiking. You could get out and see that country for what it is.
And things are a lot different now than they were when I was there. Well, I haven't been there in almost 20 years now, but
Yeah.
I've talked to, there's enough people on Guam that came from Korea. Everything's different.
Yeah, I mean, they say a lot of things about Korea. Go there, get demoted. Why do they say that? Because people go there and they do the wrong things. They go there and they go out to the bars, and all they do is drink and go to the bars right outside the base that they're stationed at.
Yeah.
You could do that anywhere, and you would be missing out on the cool stuff they have. And I don't want to go too deep into what I did, but they're awesome hiking places, and you meet the people, you eat in places there.
It's the same thing, like when I decided to retire. Well, I decided to stay on Guam. There's a few different reasons. So, leaving Osan again, I knew when I went to Guam, I was going over 20. I'm retiring out of Guam, whether I stay longer than 15 months at a time, whatever, I'm retired. I'm not PCSing
Right.
as an active duty member again. So it's like, because I have friends that live here in Georgia. It's like, so, am I going to retire here? Am I going to stay in Guam? Am I going to go back to New York? Am I going to go to Georgia? What am I going to do? And I had no idea of when yet. So, the day I left Korea, if you've ever been to Korea, it gets rather cold. And it's a damp cold, especially up around Osan. The day I left Osan, I walked to the AMC terminal and it was below zero. And 27 hours of flying later, I land Albany, New York, and there's 4 feet of snow on the ground and it's snowing. I'm like, nope, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah.
So I got to Guam, bought a house, and like I said, there no real plan. And I said, driving to work one day, because different things that occurred my second time around Korea, was like, I really need this shit anymore. Called a friend of mine, retired E8. It's like, hey man, when did you know it was time to go? It wasn't fun anymore. Why? I had that today driving to work. So I wound up, because the unit knew I'd been in Guam before. I was there for 5.5 years. I knew I liked the place. I mean, I bought a house when I got there. So they made me, I ran like the sponsor program, help new people coming into the base. So that was one of the things I would always tell them. Because Guam has there's snakes everywhere, and there's this, and there's that. And I would try to dispel them of all those notions.
When you decided to retire and you dropped retirement paperwork, how long did you give yourself to go from that date to the date that you retired?
I decided, at the time, like I said, it was a 15-month tour, and at the 6-month mark, they would give you, it's your DEROS option. You get to pick whether you want to maintain your original DEROS, you want to extend this, that, and the other thing. So the day that came, I'm like, had to think about it. It's like, if I put maintain original DEROS, I need to retire because otherwise they're going to make me leave. I just bought a fucking house. Like I said, I decided to retire with no job lined up. I started putting stuff out like with Gov Guam.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Nope. Signed it. All right, I'm leaving. And I decided to retire.
Yeah.
I said, so no options. And I'll get to more how being the first time I was in Guam kind of got me where I'm working now.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this when you asked me to do this. What's also important, not only, what helps with transition is people. So if you go through your career, whether it's 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, whatever, if you treat people like shit, they're not going to do anything for you. They're like, the hell with this guy. You see the relationship I have with Aaron. So apparently I did well by him the time he worked for me.
Okay.
And but the reason I bring that up, so when I did decide to retire from Guam, or from the Air Force, I was actually, I got permissive TDY for house hunting, I had, terminal leave, so basically I stopped working April. And I retired underwater. If you're a diver, I recommend it, it's pretty fucking cool.
Oh.
70 feet of water, a little flag. Yeah. I just forgot to grab the things where you can talk underwater, so my commander gave me shit. So he just talked into a scuba glove.
You have pictures from underwater?
Yeah, somewhere.
That's a pretty cool story.
And we blew up my retirement certificate and encased it in plastic, and 5-minute ceremony, finished our dive, got on the boat, we chartered the boat, went on the dive site, and commander liked it even more because it got him out of a base exercise.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a good story there.
Well, I did it on purpose. It wasn't actually my idea. It was one of my coworkers, because some of the people in our unit who I have to, protocol dictates you have to invite, didn't really care for him. But they didn't dive. And this guy's like, why'd you do your dive underwater? It's like, now there's a thought.
Yeah.
So I went up to the commander, I was like, hey sir, what do you think? He's like, well, yes sir, you're a diver. Sorry, I covered my mouth, forgot. He's like, yeah, cool. But yeah, he left the exercise. They're like, you better bring me pictures. Cause yeah, it was a base exercise that as the security forces commander by that time, he's supposed to be running it. He's like, I got a retirement ceremony. Why not? I re-enlisted in MOP gear in Korea during a major base exercise.
Not by choice.
Well, that's when my date was due. When I re-enlisted.
Yeah, you were in it because they were having exercise.
Oh, the gear? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm wearing that shit on purpose now.
That was my experience.
Yeah. I had body armor on. I think we were in MOP 2 at the time, and I did it in the B-Dock.
That was my experience when I got to Korea.
Yeah.
I'm getting off the plane on an Air Force base, and all the Air Force people are in full MOP gear.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, am I supposed to have something on here? Because
it was base exercise.
It was an exercise, but I was thinking I was in the air.
Oh,
the war started.
Well,
and I'm landing.
you would hope they would. Well, see, I went to Korea the first time.
Well, they would just be like, oh, well, they're screwed anyway, so come on in.
I went to Korea the first time. There was like 400 people on the plane, like 8 Air Force, and it's a very long flight. Talking to Army guys, where are you going? Korea. Well, I get that, but where? Oh, they'll tell me when I get there. huh? Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to Osan. He's going to Kunsan, but
Yeah, I didn't
know.
really-
They'll tell us. They'll come on the plane, tell us where we're going.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I didn't know where I was gonna go. They in-process you in and wherever
Yeah.
they need you.
Well, because we all got off the plane, left all the army dudes on the plane, and then they came on. It was like, I guess they read off names. Okay, you. You're going to Camp Casey. You're going to Red Cloud. You're going to Liberty. You're going here. And I'm like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah, they've done a lot of adjustments in Korea from what I understand.
Well, there's families and all that there.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand the logic behind that because
I was good friends with a couple Army engineer colonels
Yeah.
when I was over there, and they were involved with engineering a new Camp Humphreys, I think it was,
Yeah.
where they were.
because they basically shut Yongsan down.
Yeah, they expanded that one
Yeah.
Army base and built all new, I never got to see it, and then shut the other stuff down
Yeah.
to bring them all in one location.
Yeah, but I don't. Somebody's, to me, they're delusional. Oh, we'll know. We'll have plenty of advance notice when they're coming. No, you won't. When shit starts blowing up is when you're gonna know they're coming.
Yeah.
But which is way off subject from where we were.
Right, that's okay, that's fine.
But yeah, so and I got called by one of them was a troop that used to work for me in Guam. Another guy was also a guy that I worked with in Guam. That's what I'm saying. Treat your people right. They know, they'll tell you about things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they called me up or I got a hold of the people and they told me, hey, here's what we're looking at. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Didn't ask about pay. I just like, I need to do something. And part of it, because I got a lot of questions like, wait, you did your time, you're retired. Why are you going over there and doing this? Well, I didn't really do that when I was active duty.
Right.
It's my chance to contribute to
Right.
to all that. So they're like, well, when can you start? Well, I need to get back to Guam and retire. We can help. No, look, I have a dog in the house I got to make arrangements for.
The folks that you were working with as a contractor, can you at least elaborate on where they were from?
I might give it away. Which it was considered. Well, we were in country. You worked for OCF, other coalition forces.
Gotcha.
They said because we had NDA and I don't know if there's
Right.
a time limit on those.
Right. We
So-
don't want to disclose that, but I think most veterans will understand that. That's
Combat operations, basically, is
Right,
what I was
right.
doing. And of course, I'm prior Air Force, which made for great humor with the guys I was working with. But
sure.
they took us in, because I wasn't the only one. But yeah, they said, they're like, when can you start? It's like, well, I got to retire. We'll fix it. No. I have a dog in the house I have to take care of. So
Right.
basically, I was officially retired on June 1st, and I landed in country on the 17th of June, give or take a day.
So you were still on.
No, I was out officially retired by
your
then.
leave and everything was.
Yeah, I was
okay.
officially retired.
Yeah.
Did that contract work and, contract end as they do. And typical, government crap. It took a while before they could spin up another contract. Because I know, because I kept calling, hey man, when? Same thing. I saw other contracts that actually paid more, but a lot of it was similar to things I did in the military. You work in like a search pit. But, it's like, doing search pit stuff, like if you're working dog handlers, your stuff you're familiar with nowadays. And it's like, I did that stuff for 6 months. Why do I want to go? It pays more, but yeah, no, that shit's boring.
So how long did you do the contract K9?
About a year and a half.
Okay. Then you went back to Guam?
Then I went back to Guam and going back when I was in Guam the first time helped lead to my career now. So when I got to Guam the first time, USDA had just started their brown tree snake interdiction program.
So for these folks, now they're starting to get what you do now, which
Yeah.
is the brown tree snake program.
Yeah. When I first got to Guam, I was used to joint kennel, because Hickam, we had a joint kennels, it was us and Navy, but when I got to Guam, there's civilians in our kennel with little Jack Russells. It's like, what the hell is this? So on Guam, there's a invasive species called the brown tree snake, and of course, it came over from doing scientific biologists doing their thing. Post World War II, is they're removing cargo throughout the Pacific region. Brown tree snake basically crawled into some cargo and got off on Guam, and that's all she wrote from there. There's no predators on Guam for this that would take care of this snake. Everywhere it comes from, Solomon Islands, Melanesia, parts of Australia, there's, of course, Australia, everything there will kill you, but there's enough natural predators there where the brown tree snake is controlled. But it comes to Guam, there's no predators. The birds don't know anything about this. So in the course of, since it came there in the late 40s, it's made 9 out of 12 bird species on Guam are extinct because of this snake.
Are the brown tree snakes, are they venomous?
It's a very mild venom. They're actually rear fangs, so they have to actually chew on you to be able to inject the venom. We have to handle the snakes for training our dogs, so I get bit all the time.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it's just, you bleed a little bit and get mad and then go back at it. They're mildly venomous, semi-constrictor. They can be aggressive. You've seen them when you came over there.
I should have taken video of them when I was there, because then I could have.
Yeah, because we laugh at you guys when you have snakes and they're like, it's striking at the line. Like, okay, there you go. We're used to it. But so the USDA program just started when I first got to Guam. So these guys don't know anything about dogs. We're all dog handlers, so we would provide whatever assistance we could to them. We're all dog handlers. What do you need? What do you need help with? Here, try this. Here, try this. And for the entire time I was there.
Yeah.
And I even made a joke when I was like halfway through my first time in Guam. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to retire, come work for you guys. And they're like, yeah, okay. Fast forward 2006, and I got hired by USDA. And I'm like, whoa, you weren't kidding. But I got picked up from USDA because of a guy, when I came back to Guam, he was in the kennels, USDA. We became friends, same thing. It's how you treat people. If I was an asshole to this guy, and like, yeah, he wouldn't have told me anything, but he's like, I came back from my contract work and spent some time here in the States on vacation a little bit, and it's like, he's like, hey, yeah, we're hiring. Just don't tell anybody I told you, but okay. I got picked up as a dog handler for USDA.
Cool.
And then
how long have you been doing that?
for USDA, 15 years.
Wow.
Well, I was handler for 3, and then I became a trainer, and so I've been a trainer the last 12.
Yeah. Well, that's super cool stuff that you're doing. So I'm kind of wondering, I got an idea, spur of the moment thing. I got this dog that's over here behind us. Some of you folks might have heard the dog making some noise or whining or something like that. But if you got time, you can take that dog that's 18 months old and go up to my training room and take like 5 minutes to play around with that dog. What do you think?
She might jump all over me because she was real happy when I walked over there.
We'll see. What do you think? Do it?
Well, I got slippers on. They're gonna.
No.
Okay.
She's just gonna
Okay.
find some stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, it's gonna be all detection stuff.
Oh, okay.
No, she ain't biting anything.
Oh, okay.
All detection stuff.
Well, I mean,
No worries.
I've probably caught dogs wearing slippers before. I've caught dogs smoking cigarettes before. And, you know. Do that now because I'm in a kennels. Our kennels on Guam right now is joint Air Force USDA.
Right.
And everybody on the Air Force side I've been retired longer than any of them have been in the Air Force. So a lot of age jokes. And a lot of it's like, well, this. And it's gonna happen. God, fucking retirees and their goddamn stories. But I try to make it where it's like, well, we did this. This is better.
Right.
It's more like, hey, if you tried this is something that we did. But throughout the years, the canine program in the military has changed a lot. There's still some similarities. I'm around it though, so the changes aren't as shocking because I see it.
Right.
But yeah, it's still some of it's. I was like, yeah, we did this and we did this. Huh? Oh yeah. Yeah, we had our dog jumping off the fucking staircase just to see what he would do, and hiding here and putting the wrap there, and throwing soda cans at handlers because they don't read their dogs properly.
All right, I think any other things you want to talk about before we cut it off and go play with the dog?
I don't think so. 'Cause I know you're part of it. You want to do this as further transition but like I said, I can't emphasize that enough. You know, if you treat your people right, you may not think about it. Like I said, the first time I ran the USDA, I mean, I knew the program, I knew some of the guys. Fast forward, I get hired by them, and you know, my contract worked out because of people that worked for me before.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, if I treated him like shit, man, there's a few times he might have because he had the misfortune of living across from me in Guam. So if he did something wrong with the kennels, all I do is walk across and knock on his door.
Was that person, without saying their name, were they also working in the contract?
No, he's
They just knew.
he
of it.
knew the contractors. He's actually Air Force. The way the Air Force was doing their K-9 program changed too much for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an officer now. He's like a TAC-P now.
Oh.
But he was still, but yeah, I mean, actually, man, it ran into him in country on my first contract 'cause he came over as part of his active or his reserve duties or guard. I forget which one he was.
Right.
But no, it's like, treated him right. So they'll wind up helping you in the end. If you're a dick to your people, it can bite you in the ass in the end. That does it for our first episode of Veteran Talk. See you soon.